the issue of data to show us whether or not this is the case. What's your sense with regard to data in this equation?
Well, the question of data is critical. You're absolutely right, Devon. And in fact, I think we should backtrack and actually see that this itself is one of the points of contention in the negotiations, maybe something which isn't being highlighted enough. But the position of the AMCU negotiators is actually that the producers who they've been negotiating with in these different forums haven't been forthcoming with the data necessary for each side to look at what would be possible and what wouldn't be possible in terms of a settlement. So the really accurate, detailed, disaggregated company data where you can actually do serious calculations of cost to company, what a company can bear and what it cannot bear, that it seems to be held by one side in these negotiations and not being shared with the other.
Of course, that makes it more difficult to really ascertain whether or not affordability is indeed possible here with no data.
Absolutely. And I mean, to the credit of the new Minister of Minerals Resources, one of his first statements as they put together the ministerial task team, a joint ministerial task team, interestingly with officials from the Treasury involved as well, was that actually the producers would, he said, have to open up their books to scrutiny of all parties. And I think, to be fair, it's really now going to be a test of whether the minister and the task team is an honest broker, whether they actually force the companies to do that if they're going to be recalcitrant or reluctant to do so.
All right, let's talk about what appears to be an anticipated report tomorrow. The Research on Money and Finance releases a report on mining profits and wage demands. Now, we understand that the report quite unambiguously says that mine workers have got a very thin slice of mining profits over the past 13 years, in particular from 2000 to 2008. Just make sense of that disparity for us.
Absolutely. Well, just to say, first of all, this is an independent report, two independent economists who at the moment are associated with my university, Wits University, Andrew Bowman and Gilad Isaacs. And basically what they've done is they've crunched the numbers which are available in the public domain, the ones which the producers put into their shareholder reports and all of this kind of thing, but still not getting to that deeper level of data, which may be necessary to go even further. But nevertheless, in terms of the data that they've had available before them, they've taken a very different view from the major producers on this. Basically, the story has been, since the start of this strike, and the story which has been pretty much uncritically repeated in the media, is that this is an unaffordable demand. They're facing a crisis of profitability. However, what these authors have done and said, well, look, you're only talking about the past 2 years. But if you take a longer-term view of what the industry has looked like over the past 8, 10 or 13 years and take all of that into account, then the question of affordability changes quite radically. And as you say, one of the key findings of the report was particularly during the platinum boom of 2000 to 2008. On the one hand, the mining companies and their shareholders were making absolutely stellar profits and dividends, most of which were going out of the country. But as the cake was rapidly expanding, the share of that cake going to the workers was actually pretty much static, if not diminishing relative to the expansion of the cake.
Are we likely to get a clearer indication of who platinum was being sold to and at what price? I mean, that's been a very big topic over the past 2 or 3 weeks, hasn't it?
Yes. Well, you won't get it from this report, because this report is looking at the distribution issues within the industry itself, what's been going to shareholders, what's been going to workers, and it breaks it down in a very, very detailed and important way. So that in itself, I think, is an important contribution to the debate and actually should open things up in the public in a way that we haven't had so far. In terms of the question of who's actually buying the platinum and at what price, well, this, of course, refers to the press launch of the Alternative Information Development Centre, the AIDC, on Monday. Yep. And what they're claiming, their economists are claiming, is that they've been working through, well, they started with Lonmin, working through the figures for Lonmin, actually as part of work associated with the Americana Commission of Inquiry, looking into the question, could Lonmin have afforded the wage demand or not back in 2012? And what they found was a striking discrepancy. which was from the data that Lonmin have in the public domain, it appears as if it's been systematically underselling its platinum relative to global market prices for at least the past 10 years. So they began to dig around with this, and they found that actually the same holds for implats and the same holds for amplats. Now, two questions come out of that. First of all, why have they been doing this? Well, no one knows, because no one knows who they actually sell to and under what conditions. So suspicion is going to hang over those producers unless they're clear, they're going to come clear with that sort of market information, because the implication is, and no one knows, this is what has to be discussed, is that they could be selling to other companies which are linked to themselves, which then say sell at the higher market price within other tax jurisdictions elsewhere in the world. So that's one point. And of course the other is as well, actually the sheer amount of money which has effectively been lost from what appears to be underselling would have easily covered the wage bill with the £12,500 demand. Now, all you can do is point to the trend. It's now for the producers to open their books and tell us what's been going on to explain it.
All right, so we look forward to that report tomorrow. Dr. Gavin Capps, thanks very much indeed for coming in.
Thank you very much.